Hello, I am Beth Misner, author and theologian. I'm here to share my thoughts with you about paradise. I have a friend and fellow author named Martin Root who is exploring the concept of paradise for a follow-up to his last book, which is entitled Heaven on Earth. We were very recently talking about his new project after I had just completed my fourth manuscript, the award-winning book entitled Called Out of the Church, 7 Steps for Living Beyond the Cross. And so our conversation came at a time when I was experiencing an expanded awareness of existence and the nature of reality. And this sense has stayed with me, and so I do want to talk about it. My conversation with Martin provided a springboard for me to personally explore what paradise is to me. What I think about paradise, what other people think about paradise, how we either do or don't experience paradise in our lives. I thought you might like a window into the way a theologian's mind works with regards to these types of concepts. I think most everyone can agree that we instinctively know paradise when we see it. And it's not often something we plan to experience. It kind of catches us off guard or takes us by surprise. And for many people, when they think about paradise, it usually is related to somewhere on the planet where they've seen a beautiful sunset in a wonderful setting. I have a story that I want to share with you about my son who experienced paradise in a really fun way. He was only about 9 years old, and he was basking in the swimming pool of our new home in a special kind of float that had cup holders. He had a soda in one side and a tin of chips or crisps in the other side. He had his favorite music playing on an outdoor stereo, and he looked over at me with the biggest smile and he said, "Ah, Mom, this is paradise." Even a child can recognize paradise. There are many ways to think about paradise. I think about some of the more esoteric ways we think about it. Sometimes we think about Milton's Paradise Lost, or the opening chapters of the book of Genesis in the Bible, when we read about Adam and Eve losing the gift of living in and tending to the Garden of Eden, which is pictured as paradise on earth. I grew up in the Bible Belt of the southern United States, and when I was growing up, it was very common to hear it said of loved ones who had passed away, "He's gone on into paradise now," as if it's something we need to reach, a future reality, and we saw it as being reserved for only certain people. We never considered that we hold paradise within ourselves. Have you considered that? That it's not simply something that happens on the outside and we take note of it or we're surprised by it. It is something that radiates from within us, and the awareness of paradise is transmitted to others, expanding outward from our circles of influence. Paradise is here and now, and is in within everything that exists, imprinted on all of creation. I do see this concept of paradise as being inherent within us, imprinted in our DNA, just like a laser-etched mark of identification onto the surface of a diamond. The imprint of paradise is on every packet of energy, every atom, every subatomic particle, and even on every quantum particle of the manifest world. Let me explain what I mean and why I say this. You see, before the existence of the physical body you inhabit today, well, this is interesting to think about. Do you have the sense that you're a physical being who is able to have spiritual awarenesses and experiences? Or do you have the sense that you're a spiritual being, a soul, which has this physical technology in which you can enter into this dimension? Most of us have one or the other view of the reality of life. Now, I know there are other ways to experience life. I have friends who feel they're simply a product of biology and that there is no spiritual aspect or soul within the biological product. I suspect they're not watching this program, and so I'm going to simply keep my observations located here with the first two possible ways to experience life. And I'm also not here to persuade anyone to have the same sense about the mystical nature of life that I may have. But my comments, my remarks are going to naturally flow from my personal bias, which is that we are souls, spiritual in nature, who are here in this time and space within the physical technology we call the body. So let me go back to the question. Before the existence of the physical body you inhabit today, where were you? And let's stop again to talk about who is this you I'm referring to. And this is why philosophy can be a bit frustrating if you're not used to engaging in this kind of exchange of ideas. Every concept needs to be quantified so you know what I'm actually talking about. Otherwise, the dialogue can be a bit like a cruise ship that is so slightly off course when it leaves the harbor that you know it won't end up where it was headed. And I want to keep you on the trajectory I've set so we both come to the same destination. So again, before the existence of the physical body you inhabit today, where were you? I want you to experience the you I'm referring to. So go ahead and take a moment right now and simply close your eyes. Think about the part of you on the inside who has never felt any different, who never feels older no matter how old you actually are. That is the you I mean. The part of you who is simply aware, watching all that is unfolding, sometimes commenting, that small voice you hear inside from time to time, and I don't mean the judgy one, but the voice of wisdom. Mostly, this part of you is just being present and aware. Okay, so if you haven't already, you may open your eyes now. In my book, Called Out, which is a parable, a story about a lady named Helen who is looking for a way to go beyond a weekly rehearsal in church of the momentous event of Jesus dying on the cross. This character, Helen, is introduced to the concepts of integration, disintegration, and reintegration. I want to focus on these three phases of life to illustrate why I say that paradise is imprinted on all of creation. Before any of us were born, the soul, the spirit, was completely integrated with the energetic expression of love, that which we have named God. The great physicist Albert Einstein's well-known equation, E equals mc squared, gives us a brainy way to understand what mystics have experienced for centuries and the indigenous peoples have experienced for millennia. When energy moved into manifest physical expression, suddenly there were borders, edges, boundaries, all the experiences that come with physicalness, physical being. And there was an unavoidable consequence from this seismic shift from energy to matter. And this unavoidable consequence is disintegration. Many religious traditions call this separation. Some of the branches of my faith tradition call this original sin or the fall of humanity, paradise lost. No matter what it is called, the sense of it is that we are no longer a part of that, of God, all that is. We have literally lost paradise, and we feel that deeply in our psyche. We've come into form, and we perceive and feel that we've lost our original expression of being. And that change is so extreme, and it feels so real that we forget we are still completely one with all that is. And as a result, we need structure. ways to frame our understanding about what has happened to us. And again, religion can give us that through different leitmotifs used within the various traditions. All of these functions have the same goal, helping us reach reintegration. In my faith tradition, it is Jesus' atonement on the cross that helped me experience at-one-ment, atonement, at-one-ment, unity with God, the Holy Trinity, all people. And really I came to learn all of creation because there is nothing else. Just the physical expression of the energy of love taking many different forms. That's the imprint of paradise. That is the laser engraved serial number on every component, every packet of energy that makes up this physical created world. In my book, Helen learns about Christ consciousness, and that's probably not something you're going to learn about in church, unfortunately. This is why I've used the title for my book called Out of the Church, 7 Steps for Living Beyond the Cross, because I believe that if we don't grow beyond that moment of atonement into a remembering of complete integration, paradise, then we are destined to perpetuate the win-lose model. Some go on into paradise, while others are left behind. We stay stuck in such extreme tribal divisions that it leads to the most awful ways to treat others because we don't see ourselves in them. We don't see the universal Christ in the other, in the birds, in the rivers, the planets, the stars, right here, right now. It's not something that is held somewhere else for us as a reward. So my hope for you as you go about your day, once you've watched this program, is that your eyes will see everything around you differently. That your heart will be so wide open toward yourself, the Christ manifested all around you and inside of the person called by your name. And my hope is that love will just hold you and pour out of you, and you will know that you are fully integrated into God, living in the fullest expression of the promised paradise right here and right now.